It's
What's
Thursday,
up?
Charlie. Thursday. The energy. You have to dig deep for it. It's there, but accessing it.
Well, like you said in your intro, tomorrow is Friday, so yeah,
Yeah,
that
bang
should be.
bang. Yeah, bang bang. We're excited. But so now this alternative exchange program, Master Deng. Mm. I mean, look, you're a worker, right?
I am.
Your pensions are a part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
The deal this time around is different. There are some who actually think it's not a bad deal. There are some who think so. Others too are like, look, we are not interested in any exchange, period. Where do you stand?
My money, I'm not interested. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there are reasons.
Of course there are.
And they are.
Well, I think it's my money. I can choose to do what I want to do with it. Right now, I don't feel I want to exchange my monies for anything else. Yeah, at this point.
For many people, that's it too. The removal of choice. That's the real loss here. Not what will happen to your money, how much you'll be paid or not paid, but the fact that after government has made decisions which have led us here, your choice is being removed from what you can do with the money that you are squirreling away for a rainy day.
Yeah, I get it.
That's the problem for some people. Someone decided to invest your money in this on your behalf with your approval, but now the investment is being changed and you are not. Yeah, well, it's not fair to say you're not being invited to weigh in. You are being invited to weigh in, but if you don't agree, the alternatives are dire, so you are left with
So you have a choice, but you don't have a choice.
Some way. Anyway, today we'll hear what people think.
And I think we need more clarity, because then you hear government say, "Oh, we'll exempt all pension funds. We'll not interfere with pension funds." The next thing you're hearing about some alternative something, and then I think was it a couple of days ago we had the finance minister say, "Oh, we are not doing any such thing."
Right.
But then we are hearing some other things, so you don't even
Right
know what
after
is
that
going.
announcement, we find out that letters had been sent out.
So
It's almost like he is not making the decisions.
well, we
Well,
can't say that for sure, but
we don't know.
I mean,
That's why I says almost like that, but we don't know.
there needs to be some clarity,
So
and it's
that-
people's monies. So
People's futures as
yeah.
well. So that is part of the conversation today. We're going to bring as much clarity as we can to this situation, and then we'll hear from you and your decisions as to how this should be done. All right, the 6 a.m. news was brought to us by Total Energies. Total, we go the extra mile for you. Absa Bank Ghana Limited, helping you find a way to get things done. And Millennium Insurance, your trustworthy partner. Time now for the Joy Business Report, brought to you by Glyco Life Travel Insurance. Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Joy Business Report. Coming up, Ghana's economic challenges cannot be attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war alone. Will tell you why Fish Solutions is making this strong argument. Also, economist Professor Peter Korte blames poor performance of industry on high inflation and high cost of doing business in the country. Plus, indigenous banks advised to prepare recapitalization plan to the Bank of Ghana in case you're unable to meet the 2025 deadline to restore minimum paid up capital. Details coming up. And thanks for being with us this Thursday morning. My name is Daryl Kwawu. First Solution says Ghana's economic challenges cannot be attributed to COVID-19 and Russia's war on Ukraine alone. According to the research and market information firm, the country's debt was reaching alarming levels before the external shocks set in. Speaking at a recent Sub-Saharan Africa macroeconomic update, senior country risk analyst Mike Kuniga said both external and internal shocks caused the macroeconomic imbalances within the economy.
So Ghana's debt and debt servicing costs were already rising pretty rapidly prior to the pandemic, with the government having embarked on pretty large-scale spending projects, including an overhaul of the banking sector and providing free secondary education to everyone in Ghana, just to mention two. Right, so debt started to rise pretty rapidly. When the pandemic happened, revenue collection fell flat, and the government basically had to spend its way through the pandemic in order to support the economy, which led to more borrowing and increased the debt burden even more. So I think the short answer is those two developments, so the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine, have definitely contributed to Ghana's crisis, but they have not necessarily caused them.
You heard Mike Kuniga there, his senior country risk analyst at Face Solutions. Now, Ghana's services sector continues to lead the economic growth path after contributing more than half of the total growth rate recorded for the year 2022. Data released by the Ghana Statistical Service shows that the 3.1% growth rate recorded in the economy was led by the services sector, followed by agriculture and industry. The service sector has seen some significant growth due to impressive performance in the information communications subsector, as well as transport and storage subsectors. Here's more on the growth rate for the year 2022.
Despite the slow growth, the economy expanded by more than 610 billion cedis for the year 2022. This is compared to some 400 billion cedis recorded in 2021. The 3.1% expansion of the economy was driven by gold production, fishing, information and communication, defense and social security subsectors. Addressing journalists, government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna-Enim said the slow growth rate was due to the challenges that the economy went through.
But between the period 2021 and 2022, we saw a much harder impact on the economy, where the economy grew by 2.1% between 2021 and 2022.
He admitted that the service sector continued to remain the significant contributor to the country's economic expansion.
So Ghana's economy continued to largely rely on the services sector, followed by the industry sector and the agriculture sector, which has seen its contribution hovering around a fifth of the total GDP that we have as a country. The contribution of the services sector has hovered around two-fifths to half of the entire GDP.
Meanwhile, the provisional growth rate for the last quarter of this year was 3.7%.
Well, meanwhile, economist and director at the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Korte, has attributed the poor performance of industry to high inflation and high cost of doing business in the country. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Professor Korte explained that difficult economic conditions contributed to the poor performance of the sector.
As a business person, if you want to produce, if you want to market your product, you also have to take cognizance of what is happening on the market. If exchange rate was depreciating quite rapidly, if the interest rate were rising, if electricity, utility tariffs, fuel prices were going up, inflation, look at how rapidly inflation kept changing. So there are a lot of market uncertainty. And as an investor, despite all the policies that government was trying to put in place, this would affect your decision to invest, to produce. And even if you produce, demand for your product can also be affected given the general economic conditions. So, in my view, it is very much expected.
Economist Professor Peter Korte there. More reactions from the latest GDP figures released by the Statistical Service. The Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana has challenged government to take the bold step in reducing the high import bills recorded in the country. The agri sector contributes about 10 billion cedis of import bill cover, a situation industry players say is contributing to the dwindling fortunes of the sector. Speaking on the back of the 4.2% agri sector contribution to the growth of the economy, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness, Anthony Morrison, called on government to take the political will and reduce the high import bill.
Trying to mitigate the 10 billion agricultural importation bill. We need to take the political will and reduce the importation bill. First, on the 1.7 billion frozen chicken importation bill. That also on the tomatoes, which is ranging about $400 million. We're also looking at fish, 1.3 billion on the fish importation bill, and the rice bill, which is also around $1.1 billion. We also import about $300 million of fruit juice, sugar, and what have you. So, and especially fat and oil, which is also around 1.3, 1.4 billion. So we need to take the political will and begin to take the critical step and make public increasing or incremental public investment into the agriculture sector.
You had Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, that's Anthony Morrison there. You're listening to the Joy Business Report. A senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, has entreated indigenous banks that may struggle to meet the 2025 deadline to restore their minimum paid-up capital to prepare a recapitalization plan to the Bank of Ghana before the time elapses. The central bank has argued that the move is as a result of capital shortfall arising solely from the recognition losses. Now, reacting to the development, Dr. Mwa urged indigenous banks to be swift in drafting a roadmap in recapitalizing before the 2025 deadline.
Clearly, I believe strongly that BOG will be in discussions with these banks that may have some difficulties, and these banks have to present a recapitalization plan to the central bank. And if the central bank is satisfied with the recapitalization plan, I believe clearly the central bank will agree and then make sure that these banks do not simply go down the water as a result of not bad banking, but simply because of the need to recapitalize.
Dr. Benjamin Amwa is senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. The chief operating officer of the People's Pension Trust, Kofi Poli, has called for intensified education to boost the expansion of pensions in the informal sector. According to him, little has been done by way of enlightening players in the informal sector about the importance of pensions. He admonished the regulator and operators to collaborate and use technology to drive the expansion.
Now, if you consider the fact that we see that 85% of the working population are in the informal sector and only 4% has a pension, that should tell you that there's still a lot of room for improvement. And it's all basically because of education. Because especially with the informal sector, there's this misconception that they don't go on retirement. I think it should be concerted effort. I know the corporate trustees are doing their bits, and that's why I say that it should be something that all the parties involved should come together. One of the characteristics of the informal sector is that they do not earn regular income. Therefore, if you make their contribution fixed and on periodic basis, that creates a problem. What we need to do is easy accessibility. And this is where technology comes in.
Kofi Poli, Chief Operating Officer of the People's Pension Trust. It's Thursday, time to bring you Investor Eye, and we bring you tips on how to detect fraudulent investment links shared on social media platforms. Joseph Kokwe is lead in charge of cybersecurity at the E-Crime Bureau, and he gives us some guidelines.
There's certain metrics you are looking at. You are looking at historically, what kind of message has this person been sending? So if you contextualize it in that way, then I know the kind of messages you send on a group. This is very inconsistent with things you normally send, right? So on that metric, then I can determine the sender aspect as suspicious. From the sender aspect, you can also look at who is sending it in terms of, again, it comes with history in the sense that has this person ever sent a message to me before? So if you are dealing with someone who is a one-time sender, normally it also is suspicious because people of that range are normally attackers who are just targeting as many people as possible and they want to see who will fall victim to it. But thirdly, in this case of the sender, the beautiful thing about it is you can easily call to verify. So I got a link from you. Are you the one who sent it? I'm saying this because there are cases like where you mentioned where someone's account can be hacked and then the hacked account is being used to send things.
That was Joseph Kokwe. He is lead in charge of cybersecurity at the E-Crime Bureau. Investor Eye comes your way every Tuesday and Thursday on the Joy Business Report. Before we go, let's check the commodity market for you. Crude oil dropped marginally to open trading at $82 a barrel. Gold is selling at $1,992 an ounce after losing about $3. Cocoa increased by $12, trading this morning at $2,977 a ton. On the currency market, the cedi, the dollar going for 11 cedis 99 pesos. That's on the forex or retail market. The pound going for 14 cedis 75 pesos, and the euro trading at 12 cedis 80 pesos. There is more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for doing the listening. The Super Morning Show continues, and Winston is in the building as well as Kojo Yankson.
All right, so thank you very much, Daryl Kwawu, for joining us with the Joy Business Report. But it looks like the city is appreciating.
11 cities, 99.
Yesterday was at 12.
Yesterday was at 12.
It's more than 12. So
yeah,
looks like a few things may have happened, over the last 24 hours.
Yeah, I guess so. But we just hope that it is stable, goes this way. But we don't want the ups and downs.
No. We don't want the ups and downs because you see, when it's when it continues like this, all things being equal, it's going to affect the fuel prices. I'm always concerned about the fuel prices. A major trigger of inflation in this country.
Somebody who really appreciates the fact that you mention fuel prices every day. I think he sent a WhatsApp message.
It would also affect import duties.
Yeah.
So so always I look at the dollar rate. I always want to make sure that we're doing something right. So it's good that there's a bit of appreciation here. I pray that it gets to 10. But the Bank of Ghana rate is still, its average interbank rate is 10.9.
That's good. That's all I can say.
But when I spoke to the banks yesterday, there were banks that were selling at 12.2 and 12.3.
Yeah, and it seems it's almost a case. It's almost a case always.
But so the Bank of Ghana, you've told all of us that is 10.9. We go to your website, we see a 10.9.
But then it's a different situation when you go to the bank.
But why should that be a different? You are reporting what is happening in the bank on the average. So, Ghana,
it's not what it appears to be all the time, is it?
Well, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen, Daryl. Thank you very much for joining us with the Joy Business Report. Were you the one who chose the inspirational song for today?
Actually, good morning to Karen. She's so interested.